Magic and Muscle is the most interesting anime of the ongoings that are coming out right now. He becomes the strongest mage in a magic school without having magical powers. In the realm of magic, magic is everything. Everyone relies on the power of magic to create something out of nothing, fly through the sky on a broomstick, or even carry heavy objects. In short, your magic is a common thing in everyday life, and wielding it can determine one's social status. But deep in the forest lives a lonely figure who opposes the rules of this world. It is a Mash, a child who has probably followed the site's training regimen and can lift your house with one hand. Some even say that he may be the son of a Satama. He is an ordinary child who lives with his Regra father, and he also likes to snack. They live in the middle of the forest, but unlike the Mash, Regra can actually use magic. Regra, at the age of 75, remembers the days when he was a troublemaker. But those days are gone, and now his stress level is quite low, despite the fact that Mash causes trouble, and chaos wherever he goes. When the Mash entered the house, he tore down the door because he didn't know whether to pull or push. Regro immediately got angry and scolded him. But Mash was always kind, with a puppy dog apologetic face, and never got punished. Regro asked him to fix the door, but Mash couldn't. He literally lacks so much common sense that he tries to put the door back the wrong way. And while his father is trying to advise him on something, the door breaks down completely. He promises that he will fix it somehow, but Regro has already lost all hope for Mash's common sense. Pouring magic tea, the Regro asks if Mash has completed his morning workout. Mash confirms but asks why he's only training his body and not his magic. Regro wants to tell him, but he can't tell him that he is an unusual person. But you get it, in the world of magic without magic he is considered unusual. But thinking that it would only break his son's heart, he decides that he will tell him about it some other time. Regro tells him that he will go out for a few minutes and asks Mash to watch the house. Mash tells him not to worry, but Regro decides to remind him one last thing. When he is not home, Mash must never go into town. Like good son, Mash promises that he will not go and wishes him a safe journey. However, Mash does not keep his promise. He is very hungry after an intense workout. And then there is the exclusive advertisement for his favorite snack. He puts on his raincoat, covers his face, and hurries into town. There he sees that everything has to do with magic. Even ordinary street work is done with magic. When he reached the bakery, he ordered 7 cream cakes for himself. But when it was time to pay, he crushed all the coins out of excitement. The baker was shocked, and the people behind him began to be perplexed. Despite the shock, the Mash used his strength to bend the coins back and fix them. This only further traumatized the baker. How could anyone do such things with their own hands? Suddenly the wind blew and exposed Mash's face. Everyone is horrified just by the look on his face, because they can't see any marks on his face. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Brad, an inspector with the magical police, is reading the news. He sees that one student has been chosen to become the divine seer of the magical academy. This title is only awarded to the best student at that school. With this title, the student also becomes a nobleman and receives a lot of money. More than enough to make a delirium jealous. Standing next to him is a chained guy, just like the Mash, only without any markings on his face. The guy apologizes for stealing because he was hungry. But Brad gets even angrier about the job and decides to finish him off. At this point, he gets a call saying that there is a child wandering the streets without a brand. This child is a Mash who thinks how he went against his father's orders. But it was worth it, because he got a brownie from the special edition. Suddenly he bumps into a policeman and apologizes. The cop was drunk and was looking for someone to vent his frustration on, especially because the puff cream had stained his clothes. The guy starts ranting about how he's doing his best to protect people and everything, despite the fact that he drinks during work hours. Mash apologizes again and even offers him a brownie, but this only angers the policeman even more. The policeman throws the brownie on the ground and starts pouncing on Mash. Without much choice, Mash grabs the policeman by the collar and tears his clothes apart, saying he will wash them and return them. The guy gets even angrier about what Mash has done to him and starts picking on him even more. At this point, Brad shows up to resolve the situation, but he notices Mash and assumes that this is who he was looking for. Everyone was talking about this kid with no noteworthy signs, but Mash seemed to be all over it. Equally, he just kept eating cream cakes, which seemed strange to the delirium. Suddenly, Regro quickly ran up to the Mash and ran home with him in his arms. Brad watched them go and released a tracking spell to follow them. At home, Regro was furious because Mashle was obeying his orders, But Mashle apologizes with the face of a dead puppy, and Rigra stops the horn. And as punishment, he tells Mashle to repeat the morning workout. Mashle got sad, but he went anyway, leaving the rest of the cream cakes for his dad. His dad began to think that maybe he got off easy because Mashle never rebelled as a teenager. He picks up the brownies and thinks they live in the woods to hide the mash from everyone. Otherwise, the police would chase him, because he can't use magic, which is almost a crime. But now he must protect the car like never before, because the magic police now know about him. Suddenly, and the front door was cracked, and Brad walked in, asking where the Rigra had hidden his son. In the woods, the mash was focused on his punishment, spinning the barbell on his finger, doing push-ups like crazy, and doing all these crazy things in the background. If you look at the weights, anyone would be crushed if he tried that. But it only took him 5 minutes to do it. He headed back home and thought about his brownies, but stopped at the door. He doesn't know if he should pull or push it, because he doesn't want to break the door down again and piss off his father even more. Inside, Brad asked Rigor to reveal his son. When Mash heard this, he was shocked and confused. Mash's heart sank as he realized what was happening. Brad mentions that since ancient times, they have been killing anyone who can't use magic, and he wants to keep that tradition alive. Because those who can't use magic don't deserve to live. But Rigo was determined to protect his son, no matter what it cost him. Brad tries to convince the Regro to reveal Mash's whereabouts, because if he does, they will spare him. Despite the torture, Regro refuses to do so. He remembered how he was too weak as a mage and was rejected by everyone. His teachers, his family, his boss all rejected him. Death seemed the only way out, but he stopped when he heard a child crying. He saw that the child had no mark, and for the first time in his life, he felt that someone really needed him. At that moment, he decided he wanted to be that child's father and raise him in such a way that no one could deny his existence. Brad ordered his soldiers to look for the mash, and Rigra desperately shouted for the mash to run away. Enraged, Brad decided to end the old man's life with his spell. At that moment, the mash walks through the door, smashes it open, and hits one of the guards with his fist. The second guard gets into a fight with him again, but he rips his clothes off for the second time today and slaps him several times in a row until he cuts the guy off with a more powerful blow. Although the mash had no magic, he promised to send Brad flying with his fist. Regro's heart squeezed when he found out that Masha was risking her life to protect him. He tried to reason with him, but Masha was determined to keep his promise. Despite his sorrow and fear, Regro was proud of Masha's courage. Brad began to cast the spell he had once used to kill a dragon, but Mash easily beat it back with a wave of his hand. Everyone was shocked, but the Mash just stood still and collected. Brad used another, more powerful spell, one that could destroy an entire forest. But the Mash fought off the spell again. Brad went into a rage and started throwing a spell at him. But it was too easy. He used the spell as a soccer ball, juggled them, and even played volleyball. But now the Mash wanted to get it over with. He grabs his father's wand, and Brad freaks out and creates a magical barrier, thinking that Mash will cast the spell. Instead, Mash throws his wand at Brad with all his might. Even though Brad created a magical barrier around himself, he was unable to block the wand and got a cut on his face. Mash threatened Brad to stay away or he would kill them. Brad was defeated, but offered them a deal. Mash is extraordinary, so if he enrolls in a magic school, he can become a god-elected mage. Brad wants the title if the Mash becomes the chosen one. That way, the Mash will be recognized by the city as a mage, not as an outcast. Despite the Regger's objections, the Mash accepted the offer because he did not want to live to be hunted like a beast. He wanted to take this chance to turn society upside down. And so he climbs the stairs to the magical academy at night and promises to crush any challenge thrown at him at this magical school with one blow of his own. Thank you all for watching, like and subscribe to the channel.